Thank you to everyone for joining us today. My name is Dan Reed. I work with SCORE Maine. SCORE, if you're unfamiliar, is one of the five resource partners of the SBA. We provide one-on-one free mentoring to small businesses, and we put on workshops just like this one with the help of volunteers like our presenter today, Kay, who volunteer their time to give back to the community. I also want to say thank you to our blanket sponsor, the Maine Technology Institute, who sponsors these workshops and makes them possible for us. So thank you, Maine Technology Institute. They have wonderful programs. If you're unfamiliar and you are in a high technology industry, I would recommend checking them out. And I would also like to say thank you to Kay for presenting for us today. Kay is the
Mm.
owner of Smart Pineapple, which is an AI and hospitality service that can help your small business with any issues you might have in the technology end of things. And I also want to mention that Kay will be presenting on AI for hospitality and keeping your brand consistent amongst your different listings. So thank you today for presenting, Kay. The slide deck will be sent out afterwards with the recording. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, or you can always unmute yourself and ask your question as well. And we'll address questions as they come, and we'll also do a little bit of Q&A at the end. And with that, I will hand it over to you, Kay.
Thanks so much, Dan. Hey, good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for coming today. I know everybody's getting ready for the holiday season. So, as Dan mentioned, my name is Kay Walton, and I have a company called Smart Pineapple. I'm located in Bath, Maine. And I have been in hospitality and tourism for over 35 years. I started one of the first online reservation services for Mexico back in 1996. Some of you may have not even been born then. So I've been in it a really long time. So today, as Dan mentioned, we're going to be talking about keeping your brand consistent and really why more than ever it's in how it's important to keep your messaging congruent. And we'll cover that both on a broad scale, but we'll also look at how AI can help you. And at the end, I'll have a download that you can have with a checklist and some AI prompts to help you. So as we're looking at today's vacationers or travelers, we're finding that guests don't browse. They are more verifying. And when I say verifying, is they're going to really look at your business or your property, be it a hotel or a vacation rental or a little B&B. People are looking for inconsistencies to doubt. And part of these inconsistencies stem from the fact that people have been burned before. And so they don't want to be burned again. They want to be confident in that money that they're spending. And today, this has changed so much because people are making decisions much faster and they have a lower tolerance for uncertainty. So, they don't have the patience. I think all of us have seen it over, probably since the COVID. Everybody's a little more impatient. They're in a rush, getting bombarded by messages all the time, from text messages to emails and that. And they really are not going to have time for confusion. So they want to make a decision quickly, and you have to make sure that we can give these potential guests the information that they're looking for. So when guests are shopping for a vacation rental, as many of you, or a hotel, as many of you may know, is that they're going to be looking at your property across lots of platforms. The numbers vary. I've heard as many as 37 pages. I've heard numbers that are closer to 100, and all the different places people are looking at when they're deciding on where to stay for their trip. Some of these places include things like a Google business profile, OTA, online travel agency listings like Airbnb, Vrbo, Booking.com, those types of listings that you may have on other vehicles. Your own website, which I hope everybody has, but they're also going to check your own website. They're going to look at customer reviews, whether that's on TripAdvisor, Google, Airbnb, other third party, even Reddit, other third party places, they're going to check those customer reviews and they're looking for telltale signs or yellow flags on maybe why they shouldn't stay at your place. And of course, they're going to look at social media, your Facebook page, what their friends are saying. Are there other people that have stayed there and posted photos of your property? And so they're cross checking everything before they make that investment in booking with you. Now, a lot of times, what's even ramped things up a little bit, as we all know, and some people would agree that the economy has been a bit challenging. Things are a little bit more expensive right now. So people want to make sure that when they're handing their money over, that they're really getting what they're expecting. And so this is all about, when we talk about branding consistency, we're talking about setting expectations for the buyer as they're doing their discovery and planning stages of their stay. So what do we say when we're talking about brand consistency? And it's very simple. It's one promise everywhere a guest looks. Sorry, the dog's barking. So one promise everywhere a guest looks. Now you're saying, but I only run a small guest house, rental. I don't have a brand. It's not so much that you're a big brand, all right? So you could just have, Joe and Sue's bed and breakfast, or, beachside cottage in Popham Beach, Maine. They're looking for congruency on that image that you're portraying, and that is your brand. And I also would say, in this day and age of AI, is to take, you are not just a little business. You are established, you're not just doing this as a side gig or a side hustle. It is really establishing a business, and to look at it as such and take it seriously. And look at it as a brand, because if you are Joe and Sue's bed and breakfast, and you go, have that congruent across all the platforms, because with AI, people will look for Joe and Sue's bed and breakfast. And hopefully what you want to do is establish trust through your own website and all of your marketing, so they book direct, so you're not paying those big commissions out to the Airbnbs of the world. So take a long story short, one promise everywhere the guest looks. So where does your brand break? All right. Or where does your business break, if you just want to be on a really broad topic or broad base? It's the small inconsistencies when you have your property out there that create doubt. And I'm sure you have all seen it as you've booked your trips. You go to one website and it'll say a garden view suite on that property's website. But you find that same property on Airbnb and it's called the green room. You're going, is this the same room? Are the amenities are the same? If one says, air conditioning, and the other one says, great airflow or something like that, or, cool breezes, does that mean you're opening the window? So you want to compare, whether it's your own website and on other listings, are your amenities consistent? Photos, of course, is a no-brainer. You want to have this, great photos, of course, but you want to have current photos, and you want to make sure your photos are congruent and the same across all the platforms. So no matter where your potential guest is looking, they're looking for photographs that are the same, that they're confident in what they're buying. It's like, think about buying a car. You see it with a dent in one side, but on a website, but on another car place, it looks brand new. You start doubting. Same thing here in hotel rooms and vacation rentals and inns. So those little inconsistencies that create big doubts. Rates. Rates is really important. If you have not updated your rates on your website, but they're current on Airbnb or vice versa, not only could they be booking the wrong rate that's lower and you're losing money, but they're going to wonder, this owner, this manager isn't paying attention to details. Which rates are right? And if they're not paying attention to this, what else are they not paying attention to? And then once again, policies, cancellation policies, reservation policies, pet policies, noise policies. Make sure that they are the same across all the platforms. And through that, you are building trust with that customer that they are spending their money in the right place to book their stay. Any questions at this point? All right, I don't see any in the chat. Please feel free to put something in the chat or we'll hold till the end. So what's the cost of incongruency, of not having the same information? And I would say the same facts. You might word a description a little bit differently, but that the facts like amenities and rates and photos match. But what is the cost if they don't? Well, that mismatch presents doubts, and they want confidence. They want trust that they're spending their money and they're not messing it up, going to be disappointed, and that you have the potential of losing bookings. So that's just that customer repeatedly, and in the future that loss compounds. So let's look at the arrival day. And what's very important here is that there's a lot of things that we don't really realize that are part of that whole process before they even walk in the door, right? Your arrival day starts really earlier than that moment they walk in the door. When your confirmation emails don't match the listings, now the angst in them is starting to build up. Did I book the right room? It doesn't say the green room. It says a garden suite. If the instructions that you've sent them for check-in are introducing new rules, perhaps the website says, yes, pet friendly, but in your confirmation, it says no dogs. Or the tone is off. If you're a really casual place, very, very open and human, and then you come up with some corporate or robotic type tone to automated messages and everything, that's going to send up that flag to that person that like something's not right. When all these doubts start working, even looking at, they're going to compare what's on Google and the OTA, the online travel agent site that they may have booked through. They're going to start comparing these things. And as that anxiety builds up, that doubt, like, did I book the right place? Am I getting what I've been paid for? That makes them cranky, or edgy, I should say. Let's say edgy, it's nicer. That's making them edgy before they even open that door. And then when they come in, and if there's something that's not right, the keys aren't there. There's nobody at the front desk. They got a different room type. All of those things will then, that stress is going to compound, and they're going to be really upset if there's an error or a problem upon check-in. So it's key to look at all of these steps, from your website to social media, all the way through your email marketing and those automated messages that your property management system or PMS system, any of those automated messages say, if the information is not the same, if that branding is not congruent, um, that's only going to increase the stress on that customer, which is a bad foot to start a vacation on or a stay with. You want them feeling confident when they walk in the door. So this really, when we talk about congruency, it's not just about branding. It's really setting the tone and the expectation for those potential guests, for them to have a great feeling and experience when they walk into your place. Okay, we look at orientation versus instruction, and I've spent a lot of time lately writing about some of this, and to share with you is what is orientation versus instruction. And orientation helps guests understand the stay. That goes from parking, check-in or keys, lock boxes, where the property is located. And it helps set up parameters. It gives them context for the information that you're giving them. And so here's a perfect example. If you write an email and say, well, quiet time starts at 9 o'clock at night, and otherwise, it may upset the guests and everything. That now you're managing the problem, as opposed to right off you saying quiet time starts at 9 o'clock, and you have to turn down music and give them very specific details on how you want them to behave. And that's orientation versus just telling them, managing that risk. Like, well, if you play your music too loud after 9, people might get upset. That's an instruction, and it creates uncertainty and risk for you as a property manager. And you as the brand and the manager have the opportunity to help establish what that guest is going to feel. So, and also how they're going to behave. I think we all know that sometimes we get some bad guests. And it's not that the guests are really bad people. It's just we didn't give them the right instructions to let them know what's acceptable behavior and what's not. So this is where we talk about where AI helps maintain consistency. And AI can be used for comparing listings, flag mismatches, and can help with speed audits. And when we talk about speed audits, which I'm going to give you your download today, which will help you through this, is really it takes mere minutes to compare information between web pages, your email confirmations, your social media posts, and everything. And AI can help you do that, and you will get very specific prompts on how to use it so that you can use AI as a tool to look in where some of the gaps in your messaging may lie. So let's take a look at Google, because everybody's going to turn to Google one way or another, even if it's just for directions. Google's one of these things that's going to either help make or break confidence in your property. Not only that, but consistency drives visibility. It helps in the algorithm with Google, because Google, when it's doing its searches on a query, it's pulling information from all sorts of resources, including places like Reddit, perhaps Substack, if you have travel writers out there and they've written about your property. And Google will reward you as a listing by having alignment across all of these platforms. And it helps the user filter out that uncertainty. So you want to, and you'd be surprised on how many businesses I talk to where their Google business listing isn't up to date. the address isn't there, the phone number's not updated, the pictures are from 5 years ago. I would encourage you as a business is to think of your Google business listing almost like you would a social media channel, not where you have to respond so much back and forth, of course, reply to reviews, but where you're maybe posting an update. We've got a great discount, or we've got a last minute opening for New Year's, or we now have a new swimming pool or something. Use Google, and you only post once a week or a couple times a month to help keep information fresh about your property and your business. And people will look and see, are there any new reviews? Are there new photos? What are the updates? So Google can be one of your best vehicles to build confidence, and it costs you just a little bit of time to do. Any questions so far? I don't see any. All right. So next I want to talk about review. Oh,
I did have
yes,
one,
Dan.
Kay. So I was just been
Yeah.
thinking about a slide from earlier,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of struck out to me that you had, and I think this is a really good point about it. Two different named rooms. They might be named differently on different listings. That's something I've definitely seen before, and it's caused me to make a different buying decision because I don't know if that room's available. Maybe it is. Maybe there are multiple rooms that look like that. How would you recommend deciding which one of these you would go with in your branding?
Well, we'll look at, if we look at the picture here of this green room here. Again, you as a property owner or a property manager need to decide, is it a room or is it a suite? Is you have to look at what category you want to put it in and just stick with that. And you might even want to say, okay, what constitutes a suite? Is a suite a sitting area with a sofa? Well, then maybe we just have a garden room. So really those room names can be subjective, but you really want to pick something that is honest and accurate. If it is not a suite in a bigger room and it's simply a bedroom with a chair and a window overlooking a garden, then maybe it's just a garden view room versus a garden suite. Does that answer your question, Dan?
Yeah. And we did have another question in the chat.
Yep.
Could you clarify keeping Google current? Do you mean posting or do you mean keeping the info up to date and fresh?
Great. I mean both, actually. When we're looking at Google, I'm just going to pull up that slide here. Oopsie. When we talk about Google, on your Google business listing, you have the opportunity to create posts, just like you would on Facebook or some of the other social media channels. So I encourage you to open up your administration, and it'll give you lots of options from updating information, and you'll see posts, and you will see photos, and in there you can upload information and post. So you can create a post. I don't want to say similar. It can be similar to a blog post, perhaps. Just a couple paragraphs or even a few sentences. Last minute openings. We have this art festival's happening in May. We're really close by. You can walk nearby. You can walk to the festival. Is to add these pieces of information as appropriate. With Google Photos, you can see all the photos that you have posted on Google Business, and you can delete the ones that are inappropriate. So if you have photos from 2005 that are old and you've since done redecorating or refurbishing, you can delete those and upload fresh photos that are similar or the same that as you have on other platforms. And keeping business information up to date, you definitely want to do that. And if Oh, I'm going to cough. Sorry. Pardon me. You want to keep your business data up to date, new phone numbers. If you're have a new address or a mailing address, any type of business information. If the hotel's closed for refurbishing or renovations or something, is make sure that you're putting, closed for certain dates and make sure that information is up there. And on the same vein, make sure if you have closed Monday through Friday for the next 2 weeks, that after that you've changed it, that you're open again, starting on the next available date. So that's what I mean about keeping, posting and keeping that information fresh. There's been a lot more articles out there on the internet about considering Google not just as a billboard, but something that has a bit of a life of its own, that you can keep that information fresh and Google will credit you for that. All right. Alrighty here. Let's talk about reviews. Now, reviews can be an amazing tool for you. And I was in the vacation rental business for many, many years. And I can tell you, I know when my heart has jumped and I'm holding my breath because I got a bad review for something. And I instantly may become defensive. Oh, well, that customer was wrong. Everything was great and everything. That's just that emotion, and that's that gut instinct when you read some of these reviews. But look at reviews actually as a tool to help you improve services, manage your brand, and make sure you can find where things may not be congruent or match up. And would even say you could even use guest reviews, and this could lead into a whole nother discussion, but you could even use reviews as a way to look at future upgrades. If people would say, oh, this place is wonderful, I wish it had a pool. Well, if you have enough people that keep saying, oh, I wish it had a pool, it might give you the indication and the validation that maybe the pool's the next thing you're going to install on your property next year or something. But when we're looking here in terms of the gaps, is when reviews say it was different than expected. The question you need to ask yourself is why? Did they say why? And it could be the photos didn't match. The directions were bad. I didn't know I had to present an ID to check in, or I didn't have the lockbox combination. The directions I use Google Maps, and the directions didn't lead me to the property on Google. So maybe there was a bad street address there. So those reviews, as much as sometimes they're very hard to read, they're giving you clues on how to improve your service, your messaging, not only in maybe arrival and confirmation instructions, but all the way through the discovery process as people are looking to book your stay. And to keep in mind that, and you want to respond to these people, of course, but you also want to keep these in mind so that you correct them and make sure that future customers find that they were able to get to your property easily. The photos did match, and that the stay matched their expectations. And really, when we talk about this branding consistency, it's to set that expectation for the guest so that they're not disappointed and they get what you've promised. So now we want to talk about visual trust, and this is part of your being your brand congruency. Now, this is a property. This is one of my clients in Vermont. Now, if you see that this place is a great place for skiing, well, if you're looking through those windows, you're seeing green trees and no snow in sight. So the image doesn't match the promise. Okay, in this scenario. But what is better is to have the fix is a seasonal accuracy. And this applies more, of course, here as we're all up here in the north, where this image now it fits the headline. Great skiing. You can see the snow outside, and you can picture yourself sitting in the hot tub looking outside at all the trees and the snow. Now your message aligns with the pictures. And you might say, "Oh my God, so I have to change my pictures every season?" Not necessarily. You can have pictures of all 4 seasons on your website or Airbnb, Vrbo. But when it's winter and we're selling skiing in this scenario, move those winter pictures first in the sequence of images on the platform, because then you're matching the images with the season. And then if they're going, it's December and they're looking for summer pictures, of course, they're going to scroll down and understand, yes, it's winter now in Vermont or Maine, and they're going to look and look for your summer pictures. So you can have all 4 seasons represented on your website or your OTA listings. So that, and another big thing to remember is that if you do email marketing, that the images and headlines that you use and the messages that you put in those email marketing newsletters are congruent, that they all match up. All right. So when you fix these incongruencies, these gaps in your brand, you'll get fewer questions, fewer cancellations, and better conversion rates. And ultimately, though I didn't put it in a bullet point here, you're going to have happier guests because you've set the expectation and you are going to meet that expectation when they walk in the door. So here's your 10-minute consistency checklist, okay? You want to fix what the guest sees first. So just as we have here on the slide, and I'm giving you a sheet on this, so don't feel like you have to write it down, is your listing and your visuals. This is what these potential guests are going to notice immediately. From your business profile images, the OTA, website images, seasonality, listings, and titles for like the rooms, as Dan mentioned before. And what I will also just do a little reminder here, this also goes for things like Instagram. Do not put pictures of a wild party at your property on Instagram, but on the website it says peaceful, tranquil escape. There's a gap in the messaging there. So you may want to use that. Maybe there was a party and it was great, and you say, we were people stayed here for an event, so that people understand that it was a one-off. Then noise and partying are a constant. So you want to look at across those social media platforms at your visuals and what is the vibe that your visuals are putting off on things like TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. And then you also want to fix your core information, and that's what guests verify for that confidence. Your amenities match reality. If you say we have a great hot tub you're going to be able to enjoy this winter, and they get there and it's been out of service for 3 months, there's a problem right there, and it breaks confidence and trust. Rates and policies, as we've discussed, location and details. You want to make sure it's this is a perfect one, location and details. I rented a place in New Hampshire, a condo during shoulder season, so no snow. Did not mention there was construction on the chairlift. It was great ski in, ski out. Maybe in January it would be, but in October it was there was construction there working on the ski lifts and very disruptive. So location details, construction work, noise, any types of things that are out of the ordinary, you're better off to approach it ahead of time than trying to make up and play catch up when there's a problem. You want to make sure parking access. I'm sure many of you, like myself, have had problems getting keys, or you've gone to a small bed and breakfast and you're knocking at the door and nobody's there to let you in. Then we'll talk again once again on your email tone and the details in those emails. You want to make sure that everything falls in line with those expectations, that your OTA listing, your Google business page, your website, all of these materials and images you've put out there, that email flows right in with that same messaging as everything previously. So that's really important. And these are in terms of, you're updating on the most part words on a web page. These are inexpensive fixes, like they're costing you time. Now, photos, and we're going to touch on photos here in a minute, but photos, of course, is a little bit bigger project and a little more of a cost. So let's prioritize some fixes. Quick wins, as we discussed: standardize rooms or unit names everywhere, update your Google Photos to match the current season, and verify amenities against reality. Because really, it's the reality when people walk in that door that is going to be the test of what you've set them up, what expectations you set for them. Medium effort is align your descriptions and details from the OTA and your website. And you want to rewrite, or at least check and maybe have to rewrite, pre-arrival messages for clarity. And that includes automated messaging systems. If you use Guesty, OwnerRez, Hostfully, if you're using some of these other third-party softwares to manage your inventory and reservations, when was the last time you looked at those outgoing messages when someone just books now online? When have you looked at them last? Go back, double check, make sure they're updated, and that the messaging is congruent, and that you have consistency throughout all of your messages that are going out, because they are every word that you write and message that gets sent, even on a text, those are representing you as a business, and you really want to put your best foot forward. And then your larger projects are going to be something like photography refreshes. And that I would, that is a little bit more of an expense. It takes a little more planning. And, you can't get new summer photos in December, or, ski pictures in July. So that takes a little more planning, a little bit, maybe a little more investment, but it's an investment that pays off because you're building that foundation of trust and loyalty in that customer. And what I will say when it comes to trust and loyalty is that if you build that trust with that person, and this also includes, and I don't go into it here, but on the post vacation of the post communication after their stay, is you want that messaging, that thank you for their stay, and please write a review. You want the same tone, that same expectation of being to go through into that thank you, because then they're going to write a review and it's going to be hopefully positive. If you've kept your branding and everything and there's been no major issues, then they're going to keep that review is going to be positive. So you want to look at all of your messaging as it goes through the whole life cycle of that customer. And what that does is it's building that trust. They're going to feel confident in referring their friends to stay with you. They are going to feel confident and become loyal customers and return and stay with you next year or whenever their travel plans bring you back to the area. So you are making all of these steps to get that business for now leads to a foundation of loyalty for future reservations and future revenue. So you're helping secure some of that for future revenue by fixing all of these little things. Okay, so if we do all these things, how can we measure it? And we're going to look at it here. We still got a couple more minutes before we do Q&A. So for direct booking conversions, I know, Airbnb takes a whole chunk of change out there for reservations. So if you build that trust and loyalty and have that continuity, you're going to have a higher number of direct bookings. You can track this monthly, and it could take you 10 minutes to look at where are your reservations coming from and how are you doing in direct bookings. What are your what's the cancellation rate? You've seen that you've had a lot of incongruency throughout all your materials. You've changed that. Has the cancellation rate dropped? Arrival questions. People write you, if they drop you text messages and phone calls and email messages, I'm just checking on, oh, by the way, I was just checking on, keys, or do the windows open, or is the green room really a garden view suite, and can I just walk out into the patio? The reason they are asking these questions is because they have a bit of doubt. So hopefully if you fix all of these little messaging problems and you get that tone and information data all aligned, then you should have less questions before that guest even comes to your door. And then review sentiment. Once you've made changes, how are your reviews stacking up? Are there less comments or confusion related issues that are showing up in reviews, or gaps that are showing up? But these are some of the areas that you can measure. It takes mere minutes to take a look at to see the impact that these changes have made. And with that, I am going to, let's see how I'm going to do this. I'm going to put in the chat, I have for you, let's see, message for everyone. Whoopsie. No. I have a document. Hey, Dan, can you put that document in the chat for them? That PDF I sent?
I will give it a go. I'm not 100% sure if we can
Oh,
do that, but I will try, and I will definitely send you
here
a
it
follow-up.
is. A chat for everybody. Now, here is a PDF that I created.
There we go.
And it is a checklist of this 10-minute review that I just covered. And along with that are a dozen AI prompts that you can copy and paste into your favorite AI. And with this information, you can use AI as a tool to help sort through where some of the gaps are in your information. And I want to use, as we talk about AI, I want to mention that consider AI as a tool. It is not to do your thinking for you. In the end, it is your judgment that is needed on this. So there are 12 prompts, everything from comparing your OTA listings to your website, looking at the photos there's a prompt where you can copy the prompt and upload your photos to AI and say which ones do not fit my messaging or the seasonality. Prompts that you can check email. How are the tones? So all of these prompts you can use right with AI, and can help make the process a little bit simpler, so you're not necessarily going page by page on your OTA listings and everything. So these prompts are there, and if you have questions, on the last page of that list of prompts, there is my contact information, and you can always email me or text me and reach out to me, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have and help you with that. And on the screen, as you'll see, there's a QR code. If you zap that QR code, I write a column on Substack, which is AI for Hospitality. We have workflows, AI prompts, information on how to leverage direct bookings, um, a lot of useful information. And I invite you to register. Subscriptions are, you can have subscriptions for you guys are free. You can just sign up at any time. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions. All right.
Yeah, it looks like we have a question in the chat here from Tyler. For those with
Mhm.
doubts or questions, would you recommend touching base with them virtually, setting up a FaceTime opportunity, so to speak, or showing them the area directly, or other forms of trying to basically create another touch point to make that sale?
You know what? You can it's really that's a personal question based on the amount of time that you have available. Um, Certainly, if you can have a FaceTime with them or get them on the call, if they're sending you questions, let's say they send you a laundry list of questions, you could respond to the laundry list of questions, which is going to be a lot of information. You could just say, listen, I'm happy to give you a call. When is it convenient? And answer the questions directly. You could offer them the opportunity to text message you or WhatsApp you. If you're not on WhatsApp, if you have a lot of customers that are from Canada and Europe, WhatsApp is everybody's friend. I know in the States it's not as popular as it is in other countries. Um, but you can use SMS for that, which would be really great. And you may even, if you have someone who's like kind of a little bit nervous and you can sense they don't have quite the sense of the bedroom or the size of the kitchen or the surrounding areas, say, if you want, I'll walk right out right now and snap you a picture and send it to you via email or a text. So it really depends on how much personal touch and outreach and effort you want to put into it. If you have a staff, then you may have the more of a staffing resource than maybe a private vacation rental owner. Um, so you kind of have to, it's a balancing act in how much that you want to put in there or that you're comfortable doing for that guest.
Perfect. If we have any other questions, you can unmute yourself or feel free to post it in the chat
Yeah,
and we'll
please.
ask Kay. Just looking through this document here, I see that you've already answered the question in the document that I had asked earlier. You
Yeah.
already have a prompt for consolidating room names and making sure that they're all concise.
Yeah, I tried to think of a lot of broad-based ones, but I will say there is such a diversity in the types of properties out there, from hotels to yurts and everything. And so I tried to make the prompts and everything very broad-based. But if anyone has these special circumstances or has questions, please, you can always give me a shout and say, "Well, I have a yurt that has no electricity and everything, and how do I do this?" I work with places with no electricity, and I can show you ways on how to make make the messaging work for you. Um, but really, I've tried to put in prompts where you add in your property type. So if it's one of those special, it's a teepee or something like that, you can put that in there, or it's um, a glamping place. So there's areas you'll see where you can put in property URLs, property types, and things to try to get some customized messaging there. But please keep remembering, always remembers that AI is a tool and it can sometimes go awry. So you want to proofread, do not copy paste and just stick it in an email or stick it on a website without taking a look at it and proofreading it first.
More of a comment than a question. I thought it was phenomenal advice to have 4 seasons of photos of the property. I wish I would see that more as a user rather than as a vacation rental owner.
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially in climates like Maine and New England, where we have 4 seasons, that's so important. the picture I showed was from a property, as I mentioned, in Vermont. Well, that is from a property management company. And I looked at, they have 120 properties, and a lot of them are showing as their opening picture. All right, we're going into ski season. Their opening picture on the website, that that opening picture is a summer picture. So when you have a picture of skiing and the ski runs in this region, and then here's some summer pictures of the properties you're going to stay at, it's not giving me like that building. It's also not, besides the inconsistency, it's not giving me that excitement like, oh man, this is going to be great skiing. I can't wait to be up there, and I'm going to be outside by the fire pit, or skiing out my door, when I'm looking at summer pictures. So it's not, there is that emotional sense with the photos that you're setting the tone for their stay.
If
Anything else
we,
from anyone?
yeah, if we have any last questions.
Okay, I take silence as no questions.
All right,
Well,
thank you so much, Kay, for presenting for us today. I really appreciate it. I know I always learn something new when you present.
oh, thanks so much, Dan. Thanks everybody for attending. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday season. Though I probably shouldn't say that, so it won't be evergreen content on YouTube. But no, thank you so much, everybody attending, and I hope that I see you on another future webinar with SCORE.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.